Okay, so apologies ahead of time if this episode is like 90% fanning out about Yuna Aoki, because she is now the coronated queen of 4 continents, and I couldn't be more excited about it. And
you don't sound excited. You sound tired.
I mean, maybe I sound tired. I'm just keeping it in reserve because there's a lot to talk about here, but I am legit extremely excited because I know you are. I'm huge Yuna stan. But yes, we are going to be recapping the 2026 Four Continents Championships, which just happened in Beijing 2 weeks before the Olympics. So a lot of people who weren't going to be at the Olympics, but a few who will be, and still kind of a lot on the line here. So Wen, take us away.
Welcome to Choreography, a podcast about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. I'm Wendy Buskey.
And I'm Adrian Buskey. And I think that as we start talking about Four Continents, we should just leap right into the women's event. Because
I think you already did that. We're good to start.
Yeah. What's always notable about Four Continents is that unlike Europeans, which is really easy, generally speaking, for people on the European continent to get to, Four Continents draws everybody else who's not in Europe, the Europeans or Russia, whenever they're eligible.
That's a lot of space to cover.
Right, yes.
A lot of humanity.
And particularly when it's running right up on top of the Olympics, you don't always get the highest tier people going to it. You know, sometimes skaters don't want to go to this competition right before Worlds or particularly right before the Olympics, especially when it's 2 weeks away. All that travel time can be like a huge drag on you, depending where it's at. It often takes place in Asia, and that can be really difficult for people in the Western Hemisphere. And it's just...
And vice versa.
Right.
Like, it's just a lot. And I agree. Like in Olympic years, especially, Four Continents has long been known as sort of the also-ran type of event. And this year, I did not feel that as much. And maybe that's just because I'm paying more attention. That could be. But it felt like just a really solid competition, particularly in the men's and women's event.
It's also worth noting that when you have federations like the US and Japan who have really deep fields, they can afford to send not their top tier and it feels weird to call them top tier because these are great skaters who are here.
They're just not the people who made the Olympic team, albeit on the Japan side, 2 of 3 did. On the women's end.
On the women's, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, notably in the ice dance, one of the American teams, the winners, are also going to the Olympics, and there's some strategy behind that, but we'll get to that, when we talk about it here in a second. But yeah, I mean, so let's zero in on the women's event, because I think that if we compare this to Europeans last week, Europeans was like Nita Petrokina skating circles around all of the rest of Europe.
Unfortunately, that is true. I mean, not unfortunately in the sense I love Nina Petrokina, but I felt bad for everyone else not having their best day.
Right, yeah. It was not a great event for the women at Europeans versus here at Four Continents, you had a lot of terrific skates. And even sometimes people who didn't skate really well in one event then did super well in the other. And, I just think that this was a really compelling event overall. But like I was talking about at the top, the surprise win here is Yuna Aoki from Japan.
And we are so excited. I mean, I think anyone watching couldn't help but be excited. But as longtime Yuna Aoki stands,
a long time as in the last couple of years, because
to me that's a long time.
We didn't really know who she was until she had that extraordinary performance at Challenge Cup a couple of years ago, right before she was planning on retiring, which convinced her to stick around. And this season she's had the best season of her career. And she placed 5th at Japanese Nationals and was fantastic there. And she came into this event just hoping to kind of maybe break 200.
Yeah. That's what she said, that she would like to break 200. She got a 2:17.39. So she succeeded in that goal.
Yes.
I just can't get over it. It was so unbelievable to watch how calm she seemed through both programs. She just never seemed flustered. Mm-hmm. Any nerves she had were very buried deep because they were certainly not visible in any fashion. It was just like breathing. It was amazing. And all of that, we always talk about the potential, the incredible skills and just delightful skate she has, but it's never quite at full power at the right moment until here.
Yes.
And it was just incredible to see and experience. And it was really special. And it is breaking my heart that we're not going to see her in 2 weeks in Milan because, my God, this woman should be at the Olympics.
These programs should be on the Olympic stage. Yes. They really should be. I mean, Yuna is a luxury brand skater.
Yes.
Her movements are so different.
Saks. Yeah.
Her movements are so different from everybody else. Everything that she brings to the table, she's not always the most powerful technical skater. I think that through her whole career, what's let her down has been jumps. And here you wouldn't have known that because she comes in with high-powered programs and delivers them almost flawlessly.
I think she had a cue.
I think there's a cue. I think there's maybe one cue in the entire thing, but she's so secure through those couple of programs that like you have to go really hunting for problems because they're so good. I think that, it's worth noting that she comes in here with the Japanese team with Ami Nakai and Mona Chiba, both of whom are going to the Olympics, both of whom are premier skaters, along with Kaori Sakamoto in Japan. Ami Nakai has come on so strong this season in her first year in seniors. Mona Chiba has been a marquee skater for a few seasons, but has also struggled a little bit towards the end of this season. Yuna, I gotta think, didn't come in here with any great expectations. Hope for the podium, hope for a season's best and a personal best, all of those things. And obviously feeling very confident in her skating. Although she even, I think, said that she wasn't feeling super well before the free skate. Not that you'd have any idea based on how she performed. She was second after the short program because, of course, Ami Nakai comes in here with her triple axel and lands
in both programs,
but lands it beautifully in the short, which had put her in first. And the big question after watching Yuna in the short program is a skater who's not used to going into the free in that competition for the podium, and particularly that competition for the top spot. How is that going to affect her? Is she going to feel that nerve? Because we see that all the time, that skaters, that might have an extraordinary short program will then fall apart in the free because they're just not used to the pressure of the podium lingering over them in that way. You would not have known that was the case with Yuna. She skated with complete abandon. It was joyful. It was beautiful. That La program is
the La Land is incredible. And I really appreciated the audience in Beijing because they had been rather, not quiet, but just very polite, very much lower key.
It's very subdued compared to, say, the one in Sheffield, England during the Europeans where they were nutty at times.
Right.
The Chinese crowd is much more subdued.
Exactly. But they obviously loved Yuna and gave her lots of big moments and big cheers and you
clapped along at the right times.
Yes. Tons of support. And I mean, to be honest, they did it to everyone, but to her, it felt like they really got into it because she's so good at just bringing you into a program to make it a performance, not just a competitive jump here, jump there, spin. You don't think about the elements, you think about the performance.
Yes.
And I am over the moon, but I don't want to subdue my excitement for Ami Nakai because this is also her first Four Continents Championship. And she came in here with the silver, only about 2 points behind, not even that. And like you said, first in the short, did fall on her triple axel in the free skate.
And that's really the difference.
It's really the difference, yes.
Yeah, Yuna is essentially flawless and Ami had a mistake.
Yeah, and that was enough. But watching the two of them, at the end, whenever Yuna was recognizing that she wasn't going to fall to silver as she probably expected to, but Ami just jumping up and clapping and running over to give her hugs and high fives, and the sportsmanship level was off the charts. And just
Ami never shows any disappointment at not winning the gold. She only shows appreciation for Yuna winning.
Yes.
That is such a beautiful thing to see.
And rare for someone that young.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see.
The maturity level and enthusiasm that Ami Nakai shows. And I think that you mentioned something while we were watching this that Ami has spent a lot of time with Kaori now.
Yeah.
And you almost feel like her being kind of being brought under Kaori's wing and being sort of brought into that same level of team spirit and sportsmanship that Kaori Sakamoto is just the defining example of in our sport.
Very
right?
much so.
And we've talked so much over the last couple of years about the change of the feeling in this sport away from heated rivalry and competitiveness in a way that feels like toxic and angry and problematic sometimes, and instead feels much more supportive and like, you can be competitive and fierce about your own desire for great performances and podiums, but that doesn't mean that you have to feel like your competitor is your enemy.
Exactly.
And just seeing the two of them here, that level of support, seeing Ami just run over to her and give her so much appreciation. It's a beautiful moment. And obviously they're both from Japan. They're teammates. They've traveled here together. But it is a fantastic thing to see somebody, instead of showing disappointment, just enthusiasm, knowing that they're both going to share that podium together.
Exactly. And they're going to share it with Mona Chiba, who didn't have her best competition, but was still able to get that bronze medal. I mean, she beat the next competitor, Brady Tennell, by about 3 points. So not like comfortable, but she was pretty far behind Yuna and Ami. And that actually is what surprised me. It wasn't that she wasn't great, but she had enough mistakes to land far enough back where I am not concerned in the way that I was, say, last week watching Europeans, where I was starting to feel that the nerves for a few teams like Haas and Volodin come to mind, where there's someone that you really have been watching and feeling like are going to peak at the exact right moment. And I've thought that for a long time about Moni. And here I got a little worried. And I did it at Japanese nationals as well. So I am hoping that it's something that she's going to break out of. But especially before that short program, you could see the nerves like big time on her. And I don't know how much time she's going to have in 2 weeks to really work through that, but it's a little concerning.
The thing that I've just been worried with Mona Chiba is the weight of that pressure seems to really be weighing on her. And she is typically so good at flipping the switch between the nervous face that she can wear before a program starts and when she just takes on the character and just jumps right into it. You didn't feel that as much this time. Like she didn't put on that brightness that she often does right as she goes into a program. And that had me worried because it did seem like she was wearing that stress a lot more than usual. And you're mentioning the scores here. I mean, Yuna comes in with a 2:17.39. She was hoping to break 200. Instead, she gets the 5th highest women's score of the year or something like that, I think.
I'm not sure of exact numbers, but it's definitely up there. It's in the top 10, I believe.
Really nice score. Ami gets a 2:15.78. Then Mona's in third with a 2:02.23. So they're beating her here by like 13 points and change. And like that's a significant break between the two of them. And Moni needs to kind of recalibrate, let those nerves go, and get back to the way that we know that she can skate in 2 weeks for the Olympics. So I'm hoping she can let that stress go. But Ami Nakai shows over and over again that she feels almost inflappable when it comes to the pressure of things. So seeing this first-year senior head into the Olympics with this level of energy, but also just like a happy joy that doesn't seem to have been shaken by nerves, I'd be really interested to see what that means when she gets to the big stage.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm going to make an interlude here really quickly because Wen has just given me the like, are you okay thing. I don't think the mics are picking it up. There are children screaming outside behind us that I can hear clearly, and I don't think that you can.
I can't hear them at all.
Yeah, because I have headphones that I can hear through and you don't. So I'm going to note that here in St. Louis, we are fully snowed in. We cannot leave our house right now. Our whole neighborhood is completely covered. I know that there will be a snow day for school tomorrow, and we have a big snowy slope behind us. And so I'm pretty sure that the neighborhood children are now out sledding and or tumbling to their doom, like down the hill. And
with lots of joy.
Yes, with lots of joy. But every once in a while, periodically, there is just a ear-splitting, blood-curdling scream happening that the mics are probably not picking up, but I can hear, and I know you cannot.
No.
And it is so distracting for me because my brain just keeps registering Doom Child like in the backyard. So if the camera catches me making a weird face, it's probably because I just keep hearing that in the background.
Okay, good to know. Yes. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Children in peril is happening.
Right.
Okay.
Like, yeah. Like it's instinctually like and then like, no, it's just children sledding. But
yes, it's fine.
Yeah. And this is a pretty typical thing that happens for us around this. Cause like I said, big slope in the backyard, but it is a bit unnerving.
Whew.
Let me talk for a second about Brady Tennell from the US here.
Yes.
Because I've seen some people say that they really thought that Brady probably should have taken the third spot here. If we look at the scoring, it's 202.23 over 199.37.
So it's close.
It's pretty close. I'll note Brady got called on a lot of cues and under rotations, which is a fairly common thing with her. And Moni often gets away with not getting called on those things because of her like low and long and fast jump technique. I haven't gone back and kind of reviewed those things. We've already seen that Moni did not skate to her typical level here. I don't really have an opinion on this as far as like one should have been over the other. I think, notably Brady was in 7th after the short program where she wasn't as strong, although a lot of the women were really tight there and she performed really well in the free skate. I still think this is kind of the correct spot, but I do think that Brady skated very, very nicely in the free here.
Honestly, until you brought it up, I wasn't necessarily going to, but now that you mention it, I tend to agree. I think she was underscored in the short by at least a point or two. I don't know that it would have gotten her all the way there, but I do think that there is an argument that Brady certainly is known for under rotations, and that can absolutely hold her back. But sometimes it's the assumption that she's under rotated as opposed to even necessarily what seems like reality. That happens to many, many skaters when they get that reputation. Also, I do think that her free skate was just absolutely stellar. Like maybe the best I've seen from her in the entire season. Like absolutely incredible. So in terms of, who had the better moment, who will I remember more from this competition? It's certainly Brady. I think that Brady had the much bigger moment than Moni did. But I agree. I haven't gone back to look at protocols and such, so I can't really speak to everything. But I do think that whoever was on top, I think it actually should have been even closer than it was. Because it's about 3 points, and I think it maybe should have been a few tenths.
Yeah. And I mean, and again, notably, Moni was 3rd in the short and the free, and Brady was in 7th and then 4th in the free. So she had a gap to jump. But again, everybody from like 4th to 7th was in a pretty close proximity to each other.
Yes.
It was a very tight competition after the short program. Regardless, I think Brady did very, very well here. And she said in interviews afterwards that she is not necessarily retiring.
Yeah.
She's, after this season. I think kind of everybody's been sort of assuming that this would be the end of her career, but she said that she's been skating maybe the best that she ever has.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like I've thought she was incredible all season. We saw her 2 weeks ago at US Nationals in person, and
she was phenomenal.
She was phenomenal. There. And we had seen her last year at Skate America, and she was distinctly better here. And I mean, whenever she was in St. Louis. And absolutely, I mean, she got the silver medal at last year's Four Continents, but she skated better here, I thought.
Yeah.
So I would love to see another season with Brady. I just assumed, and obviously incorrectly.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
It's also entirely possible she's still just evaluating. Like she said in the interview that she was like, when you have the thought of retiring over you or the assumption of it, people kind of treat you differently, especially in the scoring, and that they're like, well, this is a skater who's on the way out anyway, which I think, the argument can be made that like Kaori Sakamoto might have an additional layer of like, I don't want to say like sympathy, but like a sense of like she's closing out her career and it. And
I think it's really different depending on where you're at.
Yeah, for sure.
Kaori coming in as a 3-time world champion and saying this is her last season. Everyone wants to throw everything at her if they can. If she gives them a reason, they will hand her a gold medal.
Yeah.
And I agree with it because she is wonderful and incredible, and she is Queen Kaori.
Yeah.
But I think it's very different whenever you're someone who is more middle of the pack and they don't see a reason necessarily to give you more points, to help you move up in standings, to get your points better for next year, to like put you in better position.
And that speaks very much to the arbitrary and subjective nature of this sport and its scoring.
It's completely unnecessary. It shouldn't be that way. It should be what you do on the day.
Right, But unfortunately, it colors everything for sure. I do think it's really worth mentioning the 5th place finish of Haein Lee from South Korea, because Haein comes in here and turns in a couple of really nice programs. She's 6th in both the short and the free, but that evens out into the 5th place position. And I think Haein I don't want to say she was the surprise lock for the Olympics, but it wasn't a real guarantee going into the beginning of the season, whether
Not
or
at
not,
all.
you know, and the fact that she is in the competition when Cheon Kim has been, left off of that team and how that's kind of worked out. But also this is another time where Haein, who is not typically thought of as strong as a competitor as Jia Shin, her countryman from Korea, Haein's outperformed her again here.
Yeah.
Now, notably, in that 6th place position, Jia Shin was in 14th after a disastrous short program, but she was 5th in the free, which got her up into 6th. And so she comes in about 7 points behind Haein, but she does that riding on the power of a free skate that much more shows the promise of what she's capable of.
She just has looked very much out of sorts a lot of this season. Like sometimes she'll have those moments of brilliance that I think we were all expecting from Jia this season coming into seniors, but she's definitely had nerves and just, it's understandable. I mean, she's having a more like what you'd expect first season as a senior than say Ami Nakai. Ami Nakai just is rolling with it. Like she just doesn't seem necessarily phased, which is incredible. Jia is performing as most do in their first senior season. So I'm just excited that she gets to go to the Olympics and hopefully just have a great performance there. Because if all of this leads towards a wonderful Olympic Games for her, then that's incredible.
Right. Yeah. The rest of the way down the ranking here, you get a lot more uneven performances. You get Gabby Daleman here, who was so great to see back on the actual international stage.
She had an amazing short program.
Her short program was awesome, and it showed everything that we love about a Gabby Daleman skate. She is a powerful, aggressive skater.
Fierce.
Yes, tons and tons of speed. Her triple toe combo is fantastic.
Massive.
But she wasn't so great in the free. She was 10th in the free, and that drops her down into 7th. That is still a top 7 finish here for a skater who has been largely absent from the international competition for several years because of injury.
It's still fantastic. And she did indicate that she thinks she has at least one more season left in her, which I'm thrilled to hear.
Yes, I would love to see more of her because, she's been mostly at smaller international competitions that were helping her get her international minimums back. But we didn't get to see her on the Grand Prix, and I would have loved to have. So getting to see her here was great. USA's Sarah Everhart was also 5th in the short program, 11th in the free, levels out in 8th. She was great in the short, but that free was pretty messy.
It was unfortunate, and I think it's the most emotional I've seen Sarah at the end of a program.
Yeah.
Just the look of frustration was extremely clear. And yeah, I feel like she has had that season that often follows a really incredible one for a young skater. Like she came out
when you're sort of a rookie of the year type, and then you get the sophomore slump.
Exactly. And it just seems to have continued competition after competition. I thought she looked really solid at nationals, if not perfect. Here, it definitely went back to more of what we were seeing on the Grand Prix from her. I hope that she can take this and really just focus in on what she needs to do next season to break out of this. And I'm confident she will. Sarah's incredible. She's young. She's going to be a force to deal with for the next quadrennial, for sure.
Yeah. In 9th, we get Sofia Samoldokina from Kazakhstan. Samo does okay here. I think that we kind of would have expected her to be a little higher up the rankings.
I certainly did.
But she's been coming back from a major respiratory infection that was causing her a lot of problems. When we saw her at Golden Spin, she did not look full powered.
Not at all.
And I don't know if that's still affecting her, if she's fully recovered now, but there's definitely a few kind of uncharacteristic little issues. But hopefully she'll be back at full health for the Olympics and be looking strong.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to the dance competition?
Yes, I think the dance is really compelling as a USA fan because this is where you get a Japanese sweep of the podium in the women's, and then you get an American sweep in the ice dance competition. And I don't think anybody's really surprised that Amelia Zingas and Vadim Kolesnik take the top spot here.
Not at all.
This was pretty expected based on the field. This is not as strong a field as we've seen. This is where Europeans was really high powered in this event.
Exactly.
And
it flipped the script on what we were saying about the women's event because the dance in Europeans was unbelievably great. And this one was okay.
Yeah.
It was solid. I mean, the teams here are all I really like.
There's a lot of really good performances here, but yeah, it is not as fiercely competitive. Nobody in this is the a top of the podium pick at some of the more fleshed out competitions.
Exactly.
But Zingas and Kolesnik have come on so strong this season, and I got to think that the reason that they were sent here, even though they are on the U.S. Olympic team, and 2 weeks away from the Olympics, why you would choose to send one of your team members to this event.
I'm going to use my phrase again. I wanted to wrap them in bubble wrap.
Yes, yes.
Like I was so nervous hearing that they were going, like excited to see them, but also like, be careful.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind for like why they're here. One, you're sending them to a softer event where there's a really good chance that they win the whole thing, and they do, so which means that they go into the Olympics after just winning a major international competition.
Their first championship.
Right. So they come in as the Four Continents champs, and that is a nice bit of momentum to walk in the door with.
Absolutely it is.
Secondly, international scores and rankings are still, even up through Europeans and Four Continents, are still being tabulated, which affects the skate order and which groups that you can skate in once you get to the Olympics when you go into the short programs. And notably, this is a sport where the judges seem to kind of stay pretty conservative on the scores for the early groups and don't start handing out big scores until you get into the latter warm-up groups.
Note that will not be the case for certain members of the French team.
Right, exactly. Guillot will not suffer that problem, even
understandably,
if everybody
they will
else
not.
around them will.
Yeah.
But I got to think that part of it was, let's make sure that we can get some more ranking for them so we can get them maybe into like the second to last warm-up group or something like that. That seems likely as far as the strategy here, but also just setting them up great for post-Olympics as a team of the future.
That's my thought, like getting them those points so that when they go into Worlds, because there's also a very good chance that going into the World Championships after the Olympics, depending on how Madison Chalk and Evan Bates do here, they may or may not go to Worlds. Knowing them, they probably will, because they obviously love to compete. They've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
But there's a chance they won't.
Yeah.
And if they don't, that makes Zingas and Kolesnik the top American team, and they're going to want them to be in best position possible at those World Championships whenever it's potential that several of the top teams won't go. And because following Olympic Games, it's always common that teams choose not to attend the World Championships. We got lucky last Olympic Games whenever all three, like, wasn't it all three that went? Oh no, the Russians didn't, because Russia got the ban. So it was the three of the top four all went. So we got an incredible podium at that World Championships, but that's not necessarily always the case.
Right, yeah. Regardless, Zingas and Kolesnik look fantastic here. They turned out the same, what they've been doing consistently over the last season, which is really great programs, like their rhythm dances.
Sharp as hell.
Yes. The rhythm dance is one of the absolute best of the season. They deliver it near flawlessly. The free skate is a masterwork of character and movement. The character step sequence is so good in it.
It's iconic.
Yeah,
I have just hit that level of when they start doing that sequence, I'm like, I'm so excited. Even more than I was the first few times. It just gets better every single time. And now it's something I look forward to. I'm like, ooh, they're getting to it. This is great.
Yeah, so they lock in here with a 202.86. You know, that's not the kind of score that would challenge the biggest league teams, but it is a really, really nice score for them, and, you know, puts them on top of this. So they do get to leave this with their first major international championship, which is like a big, big deal. Yes,
and it gets them, that kind of score at the Olympic Games could keep them in the top 10, maybe even the top 8, depending on how other teams are doing.
Right, yeah. Right up behind them is the U.S.'s Caroline Green and Michael Parsons. I mean, I say right up behind them, they're a good like 8 points back, I think, but they put together a couple of pretty decent skates here. I think it's a lot looser in the free, because they get beat in the free by the other American team of the Brown siblings marginally. It's like it's
very close.
Yeah, it's
and
very
they're
close.
short. I will say their rhythm dance, I would not say was, I think their rhythm dance was really, really spot on.
Yeah,
it was just the free dance that was messy.
You know, this is a team that I think is the first alternates for the Olympics.
Yes.
And, you know, I love Green and Parsons, and they're so good. I still just have problems with the free dance as far as how it's constructed and the way that I feel it kind of peters out towards the end.
It's like 3 minutes of exquisite, and then the last minute feels like the music changes and the vibe changes, and somehow it it loses me a little bit. And I hate that because the first 3 minutes, I'm in. Yeah. I am invested. And they always have such inventive, unique perspectives. And I really like this team. And I am sad for them not going to the Olympics, but I do feel like I really hope they continue. I would assume they're going to. I haven't heard anything counter to that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that in the next quad with this team that we see some changes because they've had that under the radar, all of the potential for so long. I want them to capitalize on it in a bigger way.
They've been a real bridesmaid team.
I know.
And it's been frustrating. I do think that Una Brown and Gage Brown smashed it with that free skate again. After just having seen them in person at US Nationals just be extraordinary with that Godfather program, I think it wasn't quite as sharp here. And I think that they played the end like a little, they softened up the ending of it a little bit.
He wasn't as dead.
Right, yeah. I think that they went for a more dramatic,
he was dead, but not as dead.
Yeah, I just wonder if that was just for the Chinese audience, that they're maybe just downplayed that section a little bit, but they still were so sharp. They performed so well. All of the elements hit. It was fantastic stuff. Again, I hope this is just setting them up for post-Olympics next season, just a greater rise for this team, because I think the Godfather program has really showcased what their potential actually is.
Yes.
And has moved them up significantly in the ranks of the American teams.
Absolutely, it has. I think we did see some really nice performances from other teams as well that were not Americans.
Yeah.
Alicia Fabry and Paul Ayer from Canada came in fourth here. I mean, they were about 7 points behind the Browns, but I thought that their performances were lovely, just genuinely great. Holly Harris and Jason Chan, their free dance is just exquisite.
It's a beautiful program.
It's so good.
I've loved it this whole season. I feel like they got pretty softly scored at this event, and I think that does happen a lot with them. And I don't think that they looked as sharp here as in other places as we've seen them, but I do love that program.
Very much. I was a little sad that Hannah Lim and Ye Kwan from Korea had a mistake in their rhythm dance that held them back in 7th in that rhythm dance. They ended up in 6th overall because they were 4th in the free.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they moved up, but I really thought that if anyone was going to make sure that the U.S. sweep didn't happen, it was going to be them.
Yeah, this was their greatest chance for a significant podium placement out of the season. And unfortunately, just Ye was just not quite on. And he rarely makes mistakes.
It's unusual for sure.
He had a big break in his twizzle in the short program, and that rhythm dance is, again, one of my favorite 90s rhythm dances.
Absolutely.
I mean, they just nail the character work, and it just so perfectly fits that 90s theme and works so much better than what a lot of the other teams have. Their free was gorgeous and emotional. But he also had just a little issue on the twizzle again, not nearly as bad. No. I mean, it was a small thing, and they clearly jumped up significantly after that, but it was just, it was just a little rough to see them not perform as well as they could have, being a team that we love as much as we do. But they do have the Olympics coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, their first Olympics, and I'm thrilled to see them there.
Yeah, super excited about that. Now let's take a look at the men's event. This one was a lot more the chances for a upset victory or for a repeat victory or just a big question mark around the podium. I think this was the event where there was the most of those questions going in. Absolutely.
I really didn't know who the favorite was coming in, because you had the 3 Japanese men, Kao Muira from Japan, who is the one member of the Olympic team that came, but then also Kazuki Tomono, who's had a really, not the most consistent, but a pretty solid season so far. And Sota Yamamoto, who has had a really rough season, but can throw big numbers on the right day. But you also had Mikhail Shidorov, who was the reigning champion from last year.
Yeah.
And Jungwon Cha, who has finally overcome his very prolonged boot issues
Apparently
and
he had to
injury.
Go through a dozen different pairs of boots he had to go through before he found a set that worked. And that's been plaguing a lot of people. What's going on with boot manufacturing right now?
I don't know, but it was really bad.
Last couple of seasons, there's been so many complaints about that. People having to change to different companies and stuff. It's a weird issue. But yeah, I mean, I think when we were talking a little bit about this last week in our little mini preview, I think you were talking about how Kao Muira was the person who had a lot of potential to take this title because he did a couple of years ago. He's been 4 continents champion before, but Kao is a guy who has this reckless abandon in his programs that sometimes completely makes him fall apart. And he's had an extraordinarily uneven season.
Oh my gosh, that's mildly put.
Yeah. The fact that he's dumped multiple programs, gone back to previous ones, had to reconfigure himself so that he would be in contention, but he managed to lock in an Olympic spot, which was definitely on the table, but not guaranteed. And then he came in here. I mean, his short program here was fabulous.
It was incredible. And the fact that he had a 98.59, that's a huge score. I think it should have cracked 100. I was so in on that short program. He was amazing.
Yeah. All of that intense energy that he sometimes fails to harness was under control in the short program. And you could see, again, like that promise of everything that Kao is, which is a powerful technical skater, but with a very energetic artistic style. He doesn't skate like anybody else.
No, that's why I love him.
Yeah, he has this aggression to his skating that I really enjoy. But when he doesn't have that under control and reined in, he can really fall apart. And he didn't fall apart in the free, but it got sketchy, and it was no guarantee that he was going to end up at the top after that was over.
And he barely was.
He squeaked it. That is the definition of squeaking out a win, when it's like 1/10.
Like what? 0.11.
Right.
That's insane in a men's competition.
Yeah, because he's 4th in the free.
Yes.
But because he came into the free with like a 10-point lead over the second place finish of what was the 6th place short program score for Junwon Cha, he had a little bit in hand.
He did. He had like 10 points in hand.
He had 10 points in hand. He needed all of those 10 points to pull it out, because Junwon Cha, again, somebody you were talking about last week, and you were just hoping you get to see him return to form.
I wanted to see June.
Yes.
The real June.
And we got to see real June here again. And his short program, like I said, he was in 6th, so he was further back.
He had a fall.
Yeah.
He was obviously very upset about that issue, because he had the beautiful quad sal that we know that June is capable of in his short. He did it again in his free. But in the short program, his combination got away from him, and it was really unfortunate, because this season we have seen him falter kind of over and over again. But not only that, like, he's just never quite looked like himself. Like, you can tell when a skater just isn't as present.
Yeah.
And especially one as like artistically minded as June. Like, he sells a program. And whenever you watch him and you don't feel anything, he's not present.
Yeah.
So obviously the boot issues, the injury issues were plaguing him. Here, when he fell in that short program, it just felt different. It was like just a momentary lapse, because the rest of that program was fire.
Yes.
Like, it was just him putting out everything that we've come to know and love about June.
Yeah.
So seeing him throw an absolutely remarkable free skate that had one small error.
And that's the difference between silver and gold.
Like, here. I'm thrilled for Kao, because he has had such a crap season, to put it bluntly. But so is June. So I was a little sad. But either way, they're essentially tied.
Yeah.
Just the color of the medal is different. But they were both fantastic in different ways here.
Yeah. I felt like this was another instance where when Kao gets his results and he realizes he wins, he doesn't feel like he's super excited about it. I don't think
he looks surprised. He doesn't look unhappy.
No, not unhappy, but I think that based on his initial expression, I don't know that he thought he deserved it. I thought and you see him look at the score and then realize that it's just razor thin between him and June, and him kind of glance off to the side and they're like, okay, I mean, I'll take it, but like, I don't know if that's right or not. But June's, that free is beautiful.
And he went back to his free from last season, which was such a good choice.
Yeah, but with a new costume, which really worked. And it was just nice to see him go back to something that he could like get his June-ness back. And
his June-ness.
Yeah,
it is all in there.
Display. But I really do want to give a big shout out to Sota Yamamoto, who comes in here.
Medalist.
Yeah, he comes in here in the bronze. He's a little more than 3 points behind Junwon and Kao, so it's a very close podium. And Sota is a skater who I have adored for years. I like his style. I like his fist. I like his fist pumps. The energy that Sota brings is something that I've just always liked a lot. And he's he's a skater who, again, can be very uneven. And he's had a tough couple of seasons where he tends to kind of fall back in this strong slate of Japanese men. But coming in here and delivering 2 very consistent programs, he left some points on the table in that free, but he was so strong in the short. And so I'm really grateful that the way it pans out, that he still manages to hold on to a medal here, because I thought that these were very indicative of the kind of quality that he brings to the table.
Oh, exactly. I was so happy to see, especially that free skate. He's come so far in his expression. Like, his performance quality is so much higher now than it used to be. And the jumps have failed him. He's again been plagued by injury, and it was so lovely to see him back at his full power. And yeah, he had a few mistakes, but nothing catastrophic in any fashion. He's still at a 270. That's a nice score for him. Yeah. And getting a medal here, I'm hoping really carries him into next season in a great way, so that he knows, like, it's been rough, but it ended well here. So let's carry that forward and start over in a new quad.
In the 4th position, we do get the other Japanese man who was here, Kazuki Tomono, who was second after the short program, and it was brilliant.
Oh my gosh, his short program was maybe my favorite skate of the whole competition. That short was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, he was on.
But the story of Kazuki's season has been brilliant short programs and free skates that collapse.
I know.
And that's happened over and over and over again. And we've talked a lot about
collapse the least.
Yes. I mean, I think that free skate was performed maybe as well as we've seen him do this season, but it was still full of holes. It still had a lot of problems, and those problems knocked him off the podium. He was 5th after the free skate, and he wasn't surprised.
No, he wasn't surprised, but what's really frustrating is the difference between him and Kao was 5 points. 1 fewer mistake.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, because Kazuki has everything that it takes to be near 300. Mm-hmm. Like, because when he's on, it's incredible. He almost got to 100 as well in his short. So it's got to be infuriating to him, because he knows it's all there. He's got all the ingredients.
Everything in the top 4, and I guess you could even say the top 5, comes down to the difference of a jump.
Yeah.
1 quad or 1 completed combo could have made the difference.
Absolutely. This was tight.
Yeah. And I think that is really put into perspective when we look at Mikhail Shidorov from Kazakhstan in the 5th place position. He was the defending champion going in here. He's not been great through this whole season. He's never looked to seem to recapture his, like, I don't know, that air of joy that Mikhail typically has.
And confidence.
Yes.
The confidence is definitely not there right now.
Yeah. Mikhail is a terrific jumper, a decent artistic skater,
getting better
all the time, and always working on it, and kind of lousy spinner. And you see,
unfortunately,
he tends to, where he loses points is usually in his spins as they kind of come apart. A lot of times his programs kind of peter out at the end. Sometimes he nails them, like he did last year at 4 Continents and at Worlds, but here we were seeing those more kind of uneven skates, unfortunately. Now he was second in the free here, and talking about that difference of a jump. In the free skate, he typically has that extraordinary triple axel quad loop or quad flip.
Like quad flip, I think, but he's done it with several different quads.
Yes, but it's nuts, right? The triple axel into a quad.
It's like 18 to 20 points in one element.
Right, and he didn't make it happen in his first combination here. He didn't make the combination happen at all. And that could have been the deciding factor.
I think it is the deciding factor.
And that's the story of the top 5 here, is that, like, one completed element that didn't happen could have changed the entire competition. So it was a real game of inches. And you could see that, like, every guy here had high powered technical, a fairly balanced set of artistry versus jumps, and it could have gone any which way, and it happened the way it did because of the way the performances were.
I have to admit, I love this podium, so I'm really happy about it. I'm hoping that Misha can really come through at the Olympics, because I miss his smile. I miss his lightness. I love what he brings beyond just his incredible technical ability, his sportsmanship, his joy, there is an innate lovely quality about having him at these competitions. And as a human, I've just had that like slightly like worried about his level of like stress that is extremely visible on him, which it's so much pressure to be now the reigning world silver medalist and in an Olympic season. You know, he's Kazakhstan's national hero in this sport. So I feel for him, and I really hope that the Olympics, regardless of medal, regardless of points, I just want it to be a wonderful experience where he gets to experience the joy. That's really all I hope for Misha.
For sure. As we go down the rest of the rankings, China's Boyang Jin lands in 6th here.
He had a great competition.
He did. Really, really great competition. Great programs, wonderful skates, wonderful energy. Of course, he's here at home, and the Chinese crowd just loves him.
They flood the ice with stuffies.
Yes. The stuffy rain is very impressive.
Spider-Man.
I just always enjoy Boyang. The fact that he is still skating at the level that he is after all of these years in competition is wonderful.
It is.
And he just is a great presence. We see a 7th finish from the US's Tomoki Hiwatashi.
Tomoki confirmed he's retiring. I can't even go on without saying that first.
This is his official fight. He said this after it was over.
Yes.
He said this was his official final competitive performance. And I think as that goes, it's not a bad way to go out.
No, he was really strong here. Like it wasn't perfect, but it was consistent with what he's done all season. Again, extremely consistent season.
Like a 240.54 is just right on target, like right in the space he's been doing.
Again, he had a beautiful short.
Yeah, the short program is terrific. The free skate, he looked kind of gassed out, and that's been kind of the way it's looked through a lot of the season. And I think after not making that Olympic team for the U.S. and having a really tough free there, I was just happy that he came out here and in a very competitive field performed in that top 10, and that's a really strong place for him to end up.
Absolutely.
The other couple of people I want to shout out, Jacob Sanchez.
Love me some Jacob Sanchez.
Jacob was 7th in the free skate, had a terrific free. This is a guy who does not have any quads yet, and he's going to need to get them to be really competitive in his senior career. But his quality, his lightness, his joy, everything about watching Jacob is wonderful.
I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I see markings of Jason Brown in him. Just he has so much quality to his skating. Obviously, it's not at Jason now, but more looking back. And he just brings a warmth to the ice that I love. And he gets a few quads, and he going to be up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very quickly. He's so good.
And I do want to shout out China's Yudong Chen. He wasn't so great in the free, but I really liked his short program. He was 10th in the short, but he just had one of the programs that I most enjoyed from the shorts. And he's got a lot of firepower in the jumps. There's some pretty nice artistry. Like I said, he kind of fell and had some struggles in the free, but he is a very promising skater, and I look forward to seeing more from him because I quite enjoyed him.
I want to give an honorable mention to Yusong Lee from Chinese Taipei. I thought his free skate was joy. There was no quads, but he did everything he could, and he just performed up and out to that audience the whole time. He just brought so much joy to me as a viewer, and he always does. That's one of the things I love about Yusong Lee.
He's a guy that since we first really noticed him a couple of seasons ago, every time I see him, he may not be technically powerful enough to work his way up the pack, but he always delivers really compelling performances. And
he does.
I think he lands in like 18th here.
He was 18th. He was 14th last year, so a little bit of a drop, but he had a problem in the short, so it's understandable. But I did also want to mention that we had a listener reach out to us just to remind us that Yusong Lee did go to the skate to Milan Olympic trial.
Yeah.
And he is going to be at the Olympics, which is great. But he got that over. One of the people that he beat there was Georgi Reshchenko, who was bronze at Europeans last week. And unfortunately, Georgi had made some very unsportsmanlike comments, particularly about Yusong there, which I had forgotten about.
Yeah, because we were gushing over Georgi because he got 3rd at Europeans.
And he was excellent.
And he was wonderful. I mean, both of his skates there were terrific.
Job.
So just like his performance at that event were awesome, and I was super excited for him. But yeah, it's been a long season, and I'd already forgotten, though, that when he did not make that qualification for the Olympics, he was pretty bitter about it. And
specifically called out Yusong, which is really, I mean, being disappointed is one thing, but taking it out or lashing out a little bit at one of your competitors in the press was just like,
yeah, and naming something specifically, and we saw a few cases of that this season, which was really frustrating. And in this case, I think it's just because Hyosung doesn't have quads, so he goes out and concentrates on delivering really clean programs. And Georgi at the qualifier was just falling all over the place and just didn't have very good programs, even though he was trying for more
bigger
technically,
jumps,
big jumps. And we've talked about so much about the quality of sportsmanship in this sport over the last handful of years, and we've gotten a few of those kind of poor moments, and it's unfortunate to see somebody get kind of like dogged in that way. I think sometimes you get the sense of like the bitter disappointment that a young person is facing when maybe they feel like their Olympic dream has just, slipped away from them.
Yeah.
But you have to be mindful of like, don't take your failure and like put it out on somebody else. So hopefully that was a learning moment for Shtinko.
I hope so.
But regardless, big fan of this skater from Chinese Taipei, and I'm looking forward to his growth over the next years.
I'm looking forward to seeing him in Milan.
That too.
Yes. Well, let's finish this up with the pairs event where we saw, I don't know if it's a surprise victory, but kind of whenever you see the U.S.'s Elisa Efimova and Misha Mitrofanov beat Sui Han.
Yeah, Efimova and Mitrofanov, this is a team that for the U.S. cannot go to the Olympics because Elisa does not have citizenship. And it's a real unfortunate thing for the American team because this is their
best team.
Yeah, it's our two-time reigning national champions, and they are easily the strongest pairs team. And, we can't send them, which is a real blow to our chances for team medals and stuff in Milan. Even though, we have some good teams going, this has been our most consistent.
They're the most consistent,
best performing. Yeah. Having seen them multiple times in person now, they really are a wonderful team.
And they keep getting better.
Yes. And they came here and did what they do, which is deliver a couple of really consistent, really strong, complete programs. Were they perfect? No. But were they well put together, and did they bounce back from any little mistakes that they made and held on? Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think that sometimes events like Four Continents get treated as the consolation prize for a team that doesn't get to go to the Olympics. But for them to come away as Four Continents champions, like that is another feather in the cap for this team, who are now two-time U.S. national champions and Four Continents champions. That is not nothing. You don't get to go. You don't get to be Olympians this cycle, and I'm hoping that they hold on for the next one. But a significant win for them, particularly when you look at the second place finish, them winning over the reigning Olympic champion Sui Han.
And I mean, to be fair, Sui Han defeated themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, Sui Han were very comfortably by about 5 points in first after a very strong short program.
Yes.
The free skate, you could see even at the end of the short program, but definitely in the free, that Sui is dealing with some kind of injury.
Yeah,
they
it looks
did not
like a hip
specify.
injury.
Yeah.
I think that when we saw the short program end, I mean, like you said, the short was terrific, but then they hit their final pose, and she's in sort of like a half split or something, and she just makes this wince. And as soon as like he's like helping her back up, like there's this look on her face, like something hurts. And we noted it at the time. We're like, oh, that didn't look like it felt good, and she came off the ice a little rough, and then we just hope that in the moment it was just something twinged. I mean, I can throw my back out like opening a cabinet and pulling out a cup or something.
I'm still recovering from my first skating lesson.
Yeah. Anything can happen, but it obviously affected her in the free.
Yeah, and it was certainly not what I think they expected, what they would have wanted. They still, just by about a point, broke 200. This is not going to be enough to get them on the podium in Milan, but they have 2 weeks to recover. And if you're just watching that short program, they will likely be towards the top of the pack if they perform like this in that short program. The free skate is the big question mark because they have all of the polish, the class, refinement of what we've come to expect from Sui Han, but the technical has to be there, and it just wasn't there this time. They still were strong enough to be comfortably in silver, but it doesn't give me the biggest surge of optimism going into Milan.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate to see some of it look that tough. And, part of what we've always worried about with Sui Han was, were they going to actually be conditioned after coming back and we didn't know that they were going to be back until this summer.
Right.
And I believe in a post-interview, Han said something to the effect of, this is our last 4 continents.
Oh, yeah.
We're not doing this again. Yeah.
He didn't say, I don't know that he said there. He said his. He's not coming back after that.
I always got the impression he didn't want to come back in the first place, and he got convinced one way or another. Still, they're a wonder to watch. I mean, their elements are gorgeous. And
the snap and their twist. Oh, it's just so fast. It's incredible.
Our third place finish, we get the young Japanese team of Yuna Nagaoka and Sumitada Moriguchi. Yunasumi have come on so strong this season.
Yes,
after
they have.
Being kind of a rookie team last year, and they've gotten additional training. I believe they've been working in Germany with a bunch of the teams and the coaches there, and work with Kathy Reed on their choreography. And they've accelerated in such an extraordinary way. They are an exciting young team. There's so much potential, and you can see that potential, the ceiling is much, much higher.
Absolutely.
They were second in the short program and looked amazing. And that Yellow Brick Road short program has just served them so well for 2 seasons now.
Mm-hmm.
The free was a little bit more uneven.
Particularly the throws were rough.
Yeah. So they didn't do as well there, but this is a team that just every time I see them, I get more excited about them.
Oh, same. And I could say the same for Zhang and Huang from China, who were in the 4th position, not by much. It was very close between them and Yunasumi, but they actually were second in the free skate. They were very strong, and they have tons of that future world champion look to them.
Yeah, they just need to work on their connection.
Yes.
Because they have all of the technical ability. They have incredible flow, great speed, their
throws are huge.
The throws are massive. They do have that classic Chinese style for the throws, which is an incredible thing to see. But they just don't seem connected as people on the ice.
No, they don't.
And even as the program's finished, they sometimes just feel like they skate away from each other in a weird way.
Yeah, during yesterday's free skate, at the end of it, they had done this really amazing job, just a few small errors, and I felt like she was sort of chasing him. I wasn't sure if he was just exhausted or...
It was hard to tell. She had just a fluke fall in between elements. Not a big thing, but it just skate went out from underneath her in an odd moment. And I don't know if that's what he's reacting to, but he just really does seem to just disconnect from her entirely. And she's, sort of almost chasing after him, trying to catch his hand, and he's almost ignoring her. I don't know what to read into it. But I wasn't sure if it
was ignoring or if he was just so exhausted that he wasn't even aware that it was happening.
The pairs guys are often wiped out at the end of free skates. So it's not uncommon to see them look like they're about to pass out, and that could have been the case. But it just did feel kind of weird, and I'm just hoping that they were, just kind of okay, because they are such a promising team.
Absolutely.
The only other team I kind of really want to just tag here is that this was our first time seeing Anastasia Golubova and Hector Giotopoulos more, really. I think we saw them once in the very beginning of the season, and then they weren't able to compete pretty much the entire season because they needed to stay in Australia for her to lock her citizenship so she could get the Olympic nod, which they did manage to get. She got her citizenship in December, so they are officially on their way to the Olympics. But man, not great skates for that team here. 8th in the short, they placed last overall. And considering this team is often a little uneven, they're definitely kind of better in some of their...
But they didn't crack 90 in their free. That was disheartening, is putting it mildly. I actually thought their short, even though they were in 8th, I don't think was terrible. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad. Their free skate was really hard. They took it very well. I mean, to the point where Hector was kind of laughing when they got their score.
I don't know if that was laughing at taking it well or laughing at the pain. Sometimes it reminded me a little bit of Ian Somerville laughing when he and Emily got a terrible score.
I think that was a different laugh. I think that was a what the actual heck.
Yeah.
And I'm being very muted with my words.
Sure. Yeah. And understandably there. Yeah. I mean, I think that Hector was aware they deserved the score that they got, but but to me, it just felt like kind of laughing through the pain when you get a score that's that bad.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
I mean, going into the Olympics, that is not what you want to happen.
But they also haven't been able to compete, to your point. So I don't know how even conditioned they've been able to be, how much they've gotten to skate together. I have no idea. So regardless, this is a first step. Yeah. And sometimes the first step is the hardest.
Yeah, but they really did look like a team that hadn't skated together in a while. And the only thing I had noted watching, Instagram posts back around Christmas that I saw like Hector in posts that looked like he was in Montreal with, a bunch of the other international skaters like celebrating Christmas. Well, I know that Anastasia was in Australia locking down her citizenship around the same time. And so I don't know if they even were on the same continent together during that time period. I would have hoped that he would have been back with her in Australia training, but I just don't know the circumstances of it. But they really looked very rusty. And so I hope that the next 2 weeks gives them a chance to make some repairs before the Olympics.
Very much same. Well, that wraps up for continents other than gold in your heart. So, Adrian, who from the Four Continents Championships 2026 is gold in your heart?
I'm going to give it to Ami Nakai.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm giving it to Ami not only because of the extraordinary skating that she does, but particularly because of the extraordinary graciousness and sportsmanship and support that she showed Yuna. Like when, she came in silver to Yuna's gold. I thought that just the moment between the two of them was so lovely. Now, obviously, my favorite thing from all of this is Yuna Aoki's win. I mean, it's everything.
Really? I had no idea.
Oh my gosh. No, you wouldn't have caught that from everything that I said at the beginning. And I didn't even talk about her gala performance to raise Where Is My Husband, which is also just so much fun. It's a little shakier in places, but she does a 4-jump combo in that. Just
very
for
cute.
Funsies.
I love the program.
Yes. I mean, I am just utterly enamored with Yuna, but I think that Ami is just such a terrific competitor. Her skates were terrific. Just the beautiful nature of that sportsmanship, the friendship, and how she handles herself in all of this. She's still just a total spoiler for the Olympic podium.
Oh, yes, she is.
And she could very well win the whole thing in a couple of weeks. So, yeah. But what about you?
Brady Tennell. Because Brady's free skate to me, is I think the only thing that made me cry a little bit, just because at the end she was so emotional. You could feel how hard she had fought through everything. And it's why I think I was so delighted to read that she may not, in fact, be retiring. So that's exciting. She's just someone who's been through a lot and still comes out and is such a professional. And I was just really, really impressed. So Brady is gold in my heart.
Yeah. Well, looking ahead, I think that our next 4 or 5 episodes are going to be Olympic preview episodes.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a little different. It's not going to be as weekly, I don't believe. We're going to see how this goes because we got a lot to cover, because we're going to be previewing. Each episode will cover a discipline, and then if we can manage it, we'll also have one for the team, but we're going to see how that rolls with time.
Yeah, I think that there's just going to be so much to talk about with all of it. It's going to make sense to just kind of split them up, especially doing things for the skating audience that comes in every 4 years for the Olympics, who's not going to be as entrenched in the stories and the history of all these different people. There's going to be a little bit more to cover. So I think that all of them are going to be a mix of our normal kind of conversational style, but also a little bit more of that broader detail around each of those skaters to inform the person who might be coming in fresh.
And they are coming out of the woodwork, I got to tell you, because even in my day job experiences, I'm having people now mention Ilya by name to me.
Wow.
And I'm like, ooh, this is different. Suddenly you know who Ilya Malinin is.
Yes, yeah.
Let me tell you more.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. I love that. I have, a friend of ours has actually started asking me questions and doing research about Alyssa because she loves her vibe.
Yeah.
Alt girl vibes we love. So lots of interest and intrigue over here. So I'm excited to talk about this. And it's absolutely bananas as we record this that the Olympics starts in less than 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks. Less. 12 days.
I already don't get enough sleep. I don't know how we're going to manage this.
I don't know either.
Let's talk. So the competitive schedule has been released now. So
it's been out for a while, but we just haven't paid attention.
Yeah. I mean, well, I can never keep up with any of these things. I just wait until it's about to happen, and then it just happens, and I just take it in whenever I can. But
yes.
So looking at the competition schedule, opening ceremonies for the Olympics is going to be February 6th.
Yes, Friday, February 6th.
We have heard that Olivia Smart is actually going to be the flag bearer for Spain.
There's two flag bearers, like a man and a woman.
Yeah.
And she is one of the flag bearers for Spain in the opening ceremonies, which is amazing.
Yeah, super exciting. So really rad for her. But then, of course, the team event just starts immediately.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of skaters that are not going to that opening ceremonies because they are going to have to skate.
That is such an unfortunate thing. I understand why the Olympics works the way that it does, but it always precludes a certain handful of athletes from getting to have that opening ceremony experience, which is one of like the quintessential Olympic experiences.
Yeah.
Because they have to compete moments later, essentially.
Yeah.
And
sometimes before, depending on the sport.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Wacky.
It's such a weird way to do it. At least like we know that the event space will be ready for the skaters,
unlike some other sports,
right? Because we're not sure that everything's going to be done in time. We don't want a repeat of Sochi, right? Where like things are made out of cardboard and stuff's falling apart during the events. But
we'll see.
At least like the skating venue has been there for years and is ready to go. But yeah, so the team event will run from the 6th through the 8th.
Yeah, every night. So the Friday that we're starting with will be women's short program, which is, what a way to start.
Oh boy.
Rhythm dance and the pair short. Saturdays, the men's short and the free dance. And Sunday, the women's free skate, the men's free skate, and the pairs free skate. So a lot happening in a very condensed time frame. And then following that, we'll go into ice dance, and men's kind of switches back and forth the first week. So it'll be like rhythm dance, then men's short, then free dance, then men's free. And then the second week, it's pairs and women's. So it's a full fortnight of fun. I'm going alliteration here.
Yeah, fortnight of fun. For me, it's going to be a fortnight of anxiety. Obviously, like we talk about all the time on this show, we are fans of everybody.
Yes.
like yes, we are Americans, but we are very internationally focused, and we're excited for everybody.
I am far from saying yes, Team USA, everything. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have our favorites here with
100%.
the Americans, and we're very much rooting for our home team. But there are so many other people in the conversation here that we are just like massively invested
bigger fans. Yeah.
Yes, in a lot of these competitions, there is a wide range of podiums I would be absolutely thrilled with. But
we started talking about dream podiums yesterday, and I'm like, even saying that out loud makes me nervous, I'll admit.
Yeah. But we'll cover a lot more of that in those Olympic preview episodes. And there's going to be so much to cover. And we've got 2 weeks to get a lot done, to talk about all this, to get hyped, and to get our brains right for what's going to be going on with this. Because, of course, the Olympics is equal parts, typically, extraordinary excitement, but also bittersweet moments and heartbreak, and hopefully none of the awful drama that we got with the last one.
As long as it's just the normal bittersweet drama, then we're already a step ahead for sure.
I'm just hoping that the positivity that we have typically been seeing with the competitors over the last couple of years rings true at this event, because this is the culmination of a number of careers. This is everything they've been struggling and working and giving up huge chunks of their lives to achieve. I just want all of them to have a fantastic experience, regardless of what the medals and the outcome looks like. This is something that the vast majority of people will never get to do. It's a big deal, and I'm very excited for all of them.
Me too.
And we will be talking about that nonstop for the next month. And the rest of the people in our lives are going to be so tired of us.
Yes,
but I'm hoping
they're just not going to hear from us, is more likely. They're going to be watching episodes so they can be like, there's my friends.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that we can convince a lot of them to watch it as well, because they should be
viewing parties.
Yeah.
Viewing parties.
Yeah. So that's assuming we're not all snowed in and we can actually leave our homes.
We'll see.
Which is not something we can do at the moment.
Nope.
But be ready for those episodes coming up here shortly. Let us know in the comments how you felt felt about Four Continents. Did you get the outcome that you were looking for? Are you as excited for Yuna as we are? Did you think that these podiums looked right overall? And for Choreography, I'm Adrian Buskey.
And I'm Wendy Buskey.
And we will talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.